I haven't been doing a market review for quite some time, so let's get back to a couple of stocks that I'm featuring here on the channel, talk about the recent development and also what I have personally done with my positions. So I'm going to cover NIO, Huami, FUTU, TIGR Broker, Baidu, and also some other stocks, so let's get just into it. So first off, here we got the chart of FUTU, and you can see that it has been insane. Basically, I went all the way up from down here up to where we are currently. So I have an average position below $40 and now I made 400% in gains up till today. And even just if you look at what's happened this week, I mean, we are up almost 100% so far. So for me, this meant that I have to trim it down a little bit. I sold off my initial investment, so that's taken out just what I have invested into the stock and let the profits run. And this is not because I think I'm smart and can time the markets. Actually, that usually doesn't go so well, but I just have my personal limits that just after such a big run up, I just think there might be a correction soon. Actually, I've been waiting for it to happen before that already, but now I think I have to kind of limit my exposure here a little bit. And the same goes for the little brother Up Fintech Holding, the little brother TIGR Broker of FUTU. And just by looking at the chart, you can see how really steep this run up has been. Also 400% by now. But the same here, I just cut out my initial investment. It's up 4%. So that's great, taking it out and then let the profits run and not having to pay taxes on some profit and gains. So what is the outlook for those two stocks and why am I holding on to them? Well, let's have a look at the napkin invest case that I made initially before I started investing in both TIGR and FUTU, and I basically made estimations on where I think they are going to be in 3 to 4 years down the road. And what you can see here in red are my projections for the revenues and the growth targets of those two companies in the future. And then also how they could be valued accordingly based on the current multiples. So TIGR was trading at a multiple from price to sales of 6. Whereas FUTU was trading around a multiple of 9 of price to sales. So projecting that forward, I thought in 2021 TIGR would make around $300 million in revenues, whereas FUTU would do around 1 billion. And that would translate into share price for FUTU with the same multiple as today of around $71 a share. So you can see that we have well passed by this estimation already. And also for TIGR the same, I estimated a share price of around $15 based on those revenue projections. And now what basically happened is that the markets are very forward looking. So we're now trading at a 13 price to sales multiple for TIGR Broker, which is basically a double of the multiple. Same for FUTU. It's now trading at a price to sales of 20 for 2021. So that's also a multiple increase for FUTU here as well. And that has to do with the fact that the markets are just so much forward looking and obviously now acknowledging that there is so much growth potentials in those two stocks or in China and the wealthy middle class in China as well. So thereby they're giving this higher multiple, and I think there is still some room in that, but definitely now there is lots of growth already priced into the current share price. So yes, this could still run further than that. But the markets are much more forward-looking to that as well now, so there seems to be much more risk involved as well. And I will be holding to those stocks because basically if you look at my 2023 projections, I think that TIGR could be trading at around $50 a share and FUTU more than $200 a share. So, well, obviously we may actually already catch up with that this year, but my estimations here have been quite conservative in this regard regarding the valuations. So I think it would even hold true in 2023 if you compare them more to some of those other brokers out there, for instance, TD, Ameritrade, Plus 500 and so on, which have multiples around 2 to 5, or here for FlatEx even for 6 times the sales. So with that, I'm quite confident about my two positions here in both FUTU and TIGR, and just keep them growing over the couple of years. Most of the growth is now in the stock, I think. So I was initially looking for a 5 to 6x gain, and now already did a 4x. So maybe there's a 1 or 2x more to come. Or those companies develop even further and find other opportunities to grow, I will certainly cover that here on the channel. The next one to cover is, and I'm very bullish on that stock, Baidu. You guys know that I said in the beginning of my first videos on Baidu that I'm looking that this company should be worth more than 200 billion US dollars. I'm actually going to refine that, and I think this company should actually be worth even more than that in the future. But let's look at the price action. And since we have broken out through the resistance, Baidu is now up almost 100%, so basically the share price doubled. And if we zoom out really far, you can see that we even have new all-time highs now for the stock. It's never traded that high before, and it's definitely went out through this valley of pain where I actually started investing here. But I'm not going to sell my shares in Baidu. I actually want to keep them, since I do think there is just so much catch up to do for Baidu stock. But here in our Patreon community, we're actually having discussions about Baidu every day. And actually I was thinking that there are chances that Baidu would actually peak at around 270 US dollars. So that was the previous all-time high. And I thought maybe there would be an opportunity to get back into Baidu at around 200 US dollars. But if you look at the chart, this obviously hasn't happened. And we went straight through the 270 US dollars mark and are now trading at 315 US dollars. So with that, you see how hard it is to actually time the markets. Luckily, I never sold any of my Baidu shares in terms of trying to improve my position. I usually don't do that for long-term investments. What I did though is actually to have some more opportunistic opportunities around call options. So I had some of the short-term call options which I actually sold off today, because I think ultimately at some point within the next few days we should see also some reversal. This stock has been running up so high and so hot that there naturally needs to be a correction in the short term, but I wouldn't bet on that. I would naturally rather try to dollar cost average in. Once again, I think this company should be worth definitely more than 200 billion US dollars in the future. So we're not there yet. And I think there is much more to come. But in the short term, there might be some corrections now. Next stock, our favorite NIO. And in my last video where I talked about a new agreement with the Huawei government, I was actually really bullish about that. We are going to break this downward trend of NIO. And I actually said I'm going to invest in a short-term call option with a 63 US dollar strike. And I really had a hard time with that, because as you certainly know, if you're following NIO, we kept on going through this downward trend here along really down until 56 US dollars and 50 cents, until we finally broke up through the barrier of 57 US dollars and 60 cents. And we went straight up till the 61 US dollar, and then the last couple of hours have been pretty volatile here, as you can see as well. I luckily managed to sell off my call position with a small profit, but I had to average down a lot, buy more of those call options in order to actually become profitable, because it just took so much longer to break out through this downward trend. And now I think we're actually up to the next resistance level, which would be around 70 US dollars a share. I think we could certainly run up higher from here, and we could certainly make new all-time highs and have maybe up to 13% gains until we have, a major correction again in NIO. And to be honest, I was quite certain that this move would happen. Otherwise, I wouldn't have bought those calls. Certainly my timing wasn't great around those calls, because in the end, I didn't make a large profit on that one due to the fact that it took so long to break out. But in the end, I was also not worried about that NIO stock may even tank further. I thought 54 US dollars might be a decent support. And here, if you see this red line, this was really kind of the bottom where we bounced off finally, and now are making higher highs finally. Then let's look at Huami. And will Huami ever break out? The chart is really looking messy, maybe also due to my drawings here. So once again, this is just my work in progress that I'm sharing here. I haven't cleaned this up. Huami is now keeping in this $15 level here, around that level, since quite some time, which is actually quite rare. Usually we have those larger spikes and a very quick sell-off. So I'm actually a little bit more confident now that, and we may finally go beyond the $15.30 mark, and then hopefully catch up with the valuation, which I think is still so low. So it's really incredible how low value this company is. Although we now have some interesting news here. So I mentioned before that I'm not quite entirely sure what Huami is doing with the acquisition of Yitong Technologies. And this is actually just an old school company that is doing some internet devices, and there is some rumors about that this company has been acquired for Huami in order to also make a public offering in the Chinese market. So the local domestic shares that can only be bought by Chinese, and thereby tapping into the capital markets, because Huami is not doing so well, obviously, on the overseas stocks. But now the interesting fact is that this Yitong technology that Huami has now acquired with a controlling ownership of around 30%, has now announced new board directors, and it's interesting who they are. So one is here a person called Wang Xiaochuan, who has served as the CEO of the search engine Sohu.com, which is actually also, I think, an investment by Tencent. So quite interesting and high-level person here. But also notably here, who's joining on the board is Jingling Zhang, who is also the managing director and CFO of Baidu Venture Capital. And personally, I'm closely watching what Baidu Venture Capital is doing. I think it's amazing what kind of investments they have done. And so for me, it's really exciting to see that this person is now coming onto the board of a company that is directly owned by Huami, because I think now this is a closer relationship somehow between Huami and Baidu through this person, and also having this competency of investing in ventures, like now Huami is also doing more and more if you watch the recent news. So I still don't fully know how to look at this acquisition by Huami into Yitong, but I think with those board members now, this is extremely interesting and positive news in my point of view, because I think that it seems like there is something happening behind the scenes that is definitely bullish, in terms of that it's more tech oriented, and that there is a bigger plan how this acquisition can pay into the three revenue streams of Huami, of consumer devices, of industrial, medical, healthcare, as well as data analytics. And this is also, I think, where the competency of Baidu, or this lady here from Baidu, comes in as well. So last but not least, a new company that I'm currently watching on the sidelines is called Yoda, and that's an educational platform, and it's coming from the NetEase ecosystem, so from another Chinese internet giant. And in January, I actually made a post on my Patreon about the Chinese education market and if it's worth an investment, and talked about the market in general, but also about this company Yoda, what it's doing, and also that I found out that the cash situation of this company is actually quite bad, and it's not in a healthy situation. So they only had a couple of few quarters left, and back then it was trading around $27 a share. And I was actually thinking that I could possibly pick this company up at a very cheap, because I thought they are possibly going to face really bad financial implications there, and maybe even facing the risk of bankruptcy. But now what has happened is that through the positive news from NetEase, the company shares have actually recovered quite well, and they had a run up to more than $40 a share, so the share price almost doubled. But interestingly, today they're down more than 15%, and this is because today they announced that they're gonna do a share offering or dilute the shareholders around 6 to maybe 10%. So now on this news, that's obviously negative, but I think in my point of view, it will actually improve the financial situation of this company. So now it's possible to think whether or not this is actually a long-term investment, because now they have a longer rate of survival, and hopefully can execute on their plans of turning this company profitable at some point, which right now it clearly isn't. So Yoda has actually used the run-up in their shares in order to raise new cash. And I personally, I had a put option, so I was betting on a downward trend in the shares, which wasn't going quite well in the beginning since the shares went up so high. But now today I've sold this put option, and I'm now thinking about whether or not I actually start a long position in this company. So if you want to know more about this and also never miss out on some of my trading information that I'm doing, and also some researches that I'm doing behind the scenes there, then make sure to join my Patreon, where I will publish it first. Also, if you join for the $10 tier, I will invite you in this exclusive network where we actually have a more frequent exchange, a members chat, and also the opportunity that you can actually also post your own topics, which is unfortunately not possible with Patreon. So thank you guys for watching, hope you found it insightful, and see you back with another video very soon.